just been shared about how you can do changeability things in the factory, or how you can make it more efficient and low cost in terms when you're changing from one production line to the other, or one production process to the other. What I'll be looking at is, what about the people? What are some of the people and management processes that are required so that we are ready for the future of manufacturing, be it smart manufacturing or any other kinds of manufacturing? So, first of all, we'd like to start with the goals. What would you like to achieve if you were to implement smart manufacturing? And for that, what we want to do is we're going to have a poll. And I'm starting the poll. So single choice, I think there are 9 questions, if I'm wrong. This one below 8. So there are 9 questions in total. So number 1 is if you want to improve productivity, that's why you want to go into smart manufacturing. Or if you want to improve automation, like the case that Tobias has mentioned, you are looking at shorter cycle times, shorter throughput times that are required. So you want to improve the whole automation processes, whether it's you're using changeability or not, just make it faster. Or you want to be more flexible and customizable in production, whether it's changeability or whether you are able to achieve better economies of scope rather than economies of scale. You're able to cater to more SKUs, more what we call it, bespoke and customized customers' demand, if you want to do that. Or through smart manufacturing, you would like to improve your sales revenue somehow or other. Or you want to improve customer satisfaction because again, you may be more flexible now, or you may be shortening your lead times now, which eventually you'd like to improve customer satisfaction, or that you are using smart manufacturing to reduce your cost of service. I'm sure that if you're selling in China, customers are very discerning in China. The cost to service them can be high at times, and are there ways to use smart manufacturing or even AR to reduce the cost of service while improving the levels of service? Or would you want to reduce your costs of inventory, whether it's external inventory or works in progress type inventory, whatsoever, you want to reduce that through smart manufacturing? There could be some other reasons that I have not mentioned from 1 to 7, so it could be others. Or you're not quite sure. I mean, you're just exploring different possible smart manufacturing options, and you're not, you don't have a fixed idea as to how smart manufacturing is going to help you, right? So can you choose one? I do understand that if you have more than one objective, perfectly understandable. Which one will be your key one? Just if you have to just choose one, which one? Right. So I'm going to give about 10 more seconds. Can you just choose one of the 9 and click submit? And just like to find out why smart manufacturing for you, right? So 10-second time's up. So I'm going to end the survey and share the results. So, right, so we want to be more flexible. Okay, 81%, close to 82% of whoever we have here. It's non-disputable. We just want to be more flexible. And a couple of ones that they're looking for sales revenue, interesting, and improve customer satisfaction. Thank you. So with that, we will just go on to the rest of the topic. Yeah, because what we want to do is to look into what is the ultimate objective that we have, and then look into what do we need to change so that we meet those objectives. So if we want to go into smart manufacturing, Obviously, we're changing the technology, we're changing some of the production processes, we're changing some of our lines. What about the people aspect, right? What are some of the things that do you need people to change the way they work or how they organize themselves? So we're looking at those changes as well. And sometimes there's a failure to transform, why people can be resistant to changing the way they work. So even if you have a new line, even if you have a new machine, there could be resistance. And if you want to rearrange the way people work, or to get people to be more flexible in the way they work, more resistance, right? So that we'll look into that. And then if you have new lines, new machines, new possibilities, the ability to be more flexible, then it's very likely that your people are going to adopt new work practices to really implement it. Otherwise, at most, you are going to have something like better automation, which, according to our poll, well, nobody is really looking into that. We want flexibility over automation, right? So that's so if that's the case, then we need new and more flexible work practices, and at the same time, how do we then control that flexibility, right? And thirdly, because we are going to get people to work in a different way, then what about new leadership skills, new management skills? So traditionally, in a lot of production lines, it has been very top-down kind of management and leadership, very, some would call it autocratic way of working. In other words, whatever you do, just follow your boss's order. Right, so that's traditional manufacturing, and for a good reason. We need to have a certain level of order. We need to have a certain level of command and control in manufacturing of any kind. But now we want to have, in addition to that level of control, we need to have flexibility, and with flexibility, possibly more creativity, more innovation. And then, if that's the case, how do you balance the need for control and the need to be flexible and creative? And on top of that, what kinds of leadership skills? You are asking your people to work in a very different way. To prepare for that, you need to have your managers managing this group of people in different ways so that they can work in different ways too. So these are three main things that we'd like to discuss in the next 40 minutes or so. So the first one is why people are resistant to changing the way they work. So now if you're looking to smart manufacturing, and this is something that you can Baidu or Google easily. Three barriers. One, the cost. And I think Tobias has mentioned how much it will cost if you just want to go into some changeability type of manufacturing way. And usually for a lot of companies out there, the costs are not so exorbitant. It's still a cost, but it's not out of reach, right? It's something to consider, but it's not out of reach. Number two is it's about data and system security, especially if you're a European company, especially if you're a German company. There'll be concerns about, when machines share data with one another, will there be someone somewhere hiding miles away in different parts of the world who's able to hack into machines and steal your data and find out what you do, right? That one, we probably will leave it to the IT security, the system security experts, software, hardware, and whatever, and maybe even Gami can have a session on that in the future, right? The third, what I'm saying also is security is an issue, but there are many solutions available, right? And the solutions are really available. The third one is the main thing. If you want to implement smart manufacturing, you have organization culture. So you have the traditional culture, which is follow the boss, very top-down command and control type. And traditional behaviors, as in don't ask questions, don't think out of the box, because the moment you think out of the box, you are ruined. You are disrupting what I call consistency. You are disrupting predictability, and that is bad for manufacturing traditionally. So now we are looking at new culture, new behaviors for the workers, for the leaders, for the company, for management. So this will be something that we'll need to think about. And again, because it's a manufacturing environment, we are not saying that, oh, let's change everything. Let's just jump into the deep end and try out things. No, organization culture needs to be changed, but what it needs to be changed into needs to be, no, that's why we ask the question, what is your objective first? And then we'll think about what it needs to be changed into, and then we'll figure out how we can make the change, right? We're not going to be taking rash and risky decisions to change things like behaviors and culture. We'd like to talk about it, we'd like to discuss about it, and then we'll see whether we have step-by-step ways to slowly change the culture and get the maximum, optimize the benefits from smart manufacturing, right? So when we are talking about why people resist things, well, the first thing is most of the time people are unable to agree on the problem, right? And again, it's good that we have very good consensus as in what we want to achieve in smart manufacturing, which is for 82% of us in this room, we are looking at flexibility. We want to be more flexible in our approach. Now, to some other people, going into smart manufacturing means better automation, faster speed, better service levels, lower costs. So the thing is, we need to get people to agree on what is the problem that we want to solve, right? So that's the first step. Number two, what is the direction of the solution? So at least 80% of us in this room agrees that we want to be more flexible, but then how to be flexible is the solution that was introduced by Tobias just now, changeability. Is that the key solution to be flexible? Or will there be other solutions that we haven't discussed yet that will give us the kinds of flexibility that we want? The example that Tobias gave was we want to be flexible because the first two shifts we pay lower employee rates to employees, so we will do the more complex stuff. And the third shift, because it's OT, we're gonna pay more money, so we do the easy stuff and requires less people, right? So that's one way of flexibility. Flexibility can also be we have multiple customer requests that has different levels of customizations, and we will want to try to satisfy as many of those requirements as possible at a cost that we can afford. Right, so that can be flexibility as well. So what is the direction of the solution? We probably will need to have clear discussion and a clear direction on that. Then once we got that, what is the solution? What is the final, whether it's hardware, software, peopleware that it's required? Right, so those are the things that we need to settle. And then 4 and 5 are about yes, but it is a great idea. Smart manufacturing is the way to the future, but will it create other problems? Will there be huge obstacles to implement? And given the pricing that Tobias was giving, or indication of the pricing that Tobias gave just now, I don't think price is going to be that huge obstacle. If people are not adapting or adopting smart manufacturing, no, firstly, if they believe that smart manufacturing is the way of the future, it's going to have some level of benefits, but they're still having a wait and see attitude, then the obstacle is going to be, well, something more substantial, and something more substantial than the economic cost itself. So we probably will need to find out, will the solution create other problems? Other problems can be, will we hire less people? Or simply put, do we need to lay off people? Do we need retrain people, right? So it creates from what was a very simple operational technical issue now becomes a more complex HR issue. So it could create other problems or other obstacles which is now unknown yet, that is preventing people to implement the change. And last but not the least, well, talking about unverbalized fear, it really has got different meanings to different people. With the COVID-19 outbreak, a lot of companies are being forced to work remotely, or at the very least, a lot of meetings are being held remotely, right? So whether meetings are within your colleagues or with people of outside the company, your partners, customers, suppliers, whatsoever, meetings are held remotely. Now, there are still certain companies that are totally resistant to remote meetings because maybe there is some bad press about Zoom being hacked. Maybe there is some fear about IT systems. If they are not on Zoom, they can be on MS Teams or some other platforms. There's this company that actually say all online meetings, they're on Skype, right? And only with internal employees. So they're not having any kind of external online meeting, even in the age where it's like a lot of people are forcing themselves to have at least some level of screen sharing in a meeting that has some better level of interactivity. And this company basically is saying, no, we're not going to do it because it's too dangerous, right? So there could be some unverbalized fear, and some of them can be irrational. We don't know. So these are some of the things that we may face. The first one, of course, is what is the problem that we want to solve? Are we solving the productivity issue, that is the cost per output, or are we solving a throughput issue, as in how fast can we produce, right? Are we solving a volume? Do we need to increase production volume, or are we trying to produce more so that we can sell more? The ultimate objective is sales revenue rather than just volume. Are we trying to solve a problem where we want to get a better service level for our customers, or do we want to reduce cost to serve using AR or other methodologies that help us to reduce costs while still maintaining or even improving service levels? Are we working towards just in time, or drum buffer rope, as outlined in this idea called theory of constraints? So these are different things that we need to. We're not going to go into those topics. I think there are more qualified people than I am. I'm just raising all these examples just to think about what is your objective of going into smart manufacturing. And your objective is unique to you. It's got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. It's got nothing to do with your next door neighbor. Is what does your company want to achieve when it goes to smart manufacturing? Right, and something about change, right? Harvard study found that 70% of change efforts fail. Whatever that is, can be organization restructuring, or it can be going from traditional manufacturing into smart manufacturing. 70% of them fail. And this consulting company called Leadership IQ found that mismanaging change is the #1 reason why CEOs get fired. So yes, going into that could be the unverbalized fear, right? So why we are not going to smart manufacturing? Yeah, the boss says that if I don't manage it well, I might get fired. Maybe that's the case. So we don't know. It's just some of the things to think about before we jump headlong into smart manufacturing. So having done all that, the why and what about change, and looking at the resistance to change, the next step is, so how do we then effect the change? So let me see if this works. I'm going to share a video. Oops. Let me try this. It doesn't work. Okay, I'm supposed to show a video, and unfortunately, it does not work on. It doesn't work. Anyway, doesn't matter. If we got time, I'll show the video separately. So one thing is that if we want to do the change, right, we are looking at going from the present to the future, whatever the future is. Now, if we want to get this guy to go in the future, and the future, as you can see, there's a leave, there's a break in between when we want to go into the future. We need this guy to go from the comfort of the chair and go somewhere else, and that somewhere else could be unknown. You may need to take a leap of faith somewhere, and people don't really want to do so. So the first step is when you want to go into the future is you need to tell people why, and then you don't go to the how first, you go to the where. You need to tell people where they want to go, what is the end result, again, why you want to have smart manufacturing. And then we go into how we need to go through that. So this is 3 steps. So the first step is that if you want to get people up from the seats, get out of the comfort zone, you need to tell them what is the burning reason. You need to create a burning platform. You need to tell them what is the burning reason that they need to change whatever they're doing now, so that and do something else, right? If there's no burning reason, people are not going to stand up and get out of their seats, right? So so creating the why, basically, it is the hardest part. It's the single biggest reason that change fails. Why? Because the status quo is comfortable. The status quo is the result of lots of past decisions, and changing status quos means challenging all our previous decisions. And some leaders fear delivering this tough message, right? It's really getting people to change their habits and get out of the comfort zone, and everything is doing fine. There are no complaints. Why change? Why go into smart manufacturing? Yes, we can have more flexibility, but why? Everything is going smooth now. We are meeting our targets. So why on earth are we changing? Why are we making us uncomfortable and creating additional risk of failure? So this is a reason why people are not going to change. So if you really want to create the reason why, or the burning reason why, think about what are some issues that bothers or irritates you at times. So a lot of people here voted, we want to have more flexibility. So we flip it around. What is the key thing that bothers you when we don't have enough flexibility? What is the thing that bothers you when we are too rigid, when we are too planned, and we are not able to be more responsive, right? So what are some of the bad things that are happening now? What needs to be changed in some people's attitudes, behaviors, and work? So it can be the way we think. Maybe our people are not creative enough. That's why they are not flexible. Maybe they need to change our work styles, and maybe we need to change our work procedures, right? So those are some of the things that we need to think about to change. That will complement whatever you get in terms of the hardware for the smart manufacturing. What could happen if these behavior changes or improvements are not made? So if you carry on like this, nothing changes for the next 3 to 5 years, what's going to happen, right? So everybody doesn't want to change because we are meeting our targets. Nobody's complaining. Customers are not really, well, they're complaining, they're not complaining much. We have good profit margins, we are happy. So if we don't change anything now and carry on the same way for the next 3 to 5 years, will there be some things bad that are going to happen to us? Maybe yes, maybe no. If yes, what are some of the bad things that are going to happen to us if nothing changes in the next 3 to 5 years, or even 1 to 2 years, right? What would be some of the concerns that you have in mind to make the change? So we were looking to the yes, but as well. But anyway, it's just a thing about why you want to change to smart manufacturing. Not only just you, but also your colleagues, your staff, your team need to understand why. Since we are so comfortable, we meet our targets, but why do we need to stand up and change? And the next thing is you get people to stand up and change, then the people are going to ask you, okay, so we know why we want to change, but what do we want to change into? Where is our destination? What is the end result of the change? So this is where meaning the destination of change. Where is the counterpoint to why? Where we should have inverted commas, right? We haven't said how yet, how to change. We are looking at the destination first. So why unsettle people and make them a bit anxious? So they know that if they don't change, something bad is going to happen to everybody. Now, where is something to provide hope? Things like, in COVID-19, the where, the destination that people are asking is, when will it end? How will it end? And specifically, when are we getting the vaccine? Right, so that's end point. So if you want to change to smart manufacturing, getting the machines in, getting a production line to be more smarter and flexible is not the destination. The destination is what is the objectives that you are going to have, right? So the where provides a new hope, a new direction, turns anxiety into excitement. What do you want to achieve by being more flexible? In other words, right? So that's a where part. Employees are 5 times more likely to be optimistic about goals from their manager if they believe the manager is optimistic about those goals. So you want to go into smart manufacturing because you want to be more flexible. Do managers of the company believe that that is even possible? And do they even believe that if they implement whatever they need to implement, it will be achievable? Right? 71% of managers say they believe that the majority of their employees can achieve excellence. Only 18% of employees say their manager actually does. So, well, this is what we call the Dunning-Kruger Effect. A lot of people think that they're doing a great job, but if you ask around, not really that much. So, what we want to strike here is, if you want to create the where, what is the destination? A couple of things you need to do. One is there a way to articulate as specific, as detailed as possible what will be the destination, what will be the end state? When we achieve, start the sentence by saying, when we achieve flexibility, we will be able to, and then fill in the blanks, right? When we achieve flexibility, this is how we will produce our products, and then you fill in the blanks, right? So these are some of the things that you need to be as clear, as specific as possible, because firstly, the managers need to be clear as in what is a kind of future that you want to create first. Everybody, all management team has to be clear about that in their minds first. And only then can they convince the rest of the staff, the rest of the colleagues, that this is what we want to create. Everybody has got at least a clear verbal picture in their heads. This is the future that we want to create, right? So that's the where part. And only when the future state is being clear, then we have more confidence, and then we think about how. Right, so the last part is how, and some reasons that a lot of change fail, and a lot of smart manufacturing don't really live up to their expected results is we tend to focus on the how first before anything. We tend to say, oh, let's go smart manufacturing, and this is how we will implement smart manufacturing, without asking ourselves, why do we want to have smart manufacturing in the first place? What exactly do we want to achieve? Do we really need to have this this piece of machine, or do we just rearrange our work procedures and we can achieve part of that result, and then find out what kinds of machines, lines, and other hardware and software that we can buy to augment it, to complement it. Right, so most of the time change fails, or change does not meet this expected result, is because we start with how, right? How has to be last. We think about why, we think about where, and then we think about how, right? Creating the how is about getting people comfortable with the ability to successfully manage the change. So it's about work processes. So if we want to do that change, how do we need to rearrange the work? How do we need to change our behaviors? Rearranging the work can be people work, or it can be workflow, it can be work procedures, manufacturing processes, whatever that is. So it's the nitty-gritty as in how to get from point A to point B. How you want to be flexible and having a sense of order at the same time, right? So what kinds of new leadership skills and styles might be needed if you want to go into smart manufacturing? Now, this is something that China does it every June, I think, and Dragon Boat Festival. This is Dragon Boat, 2,000-year-old Chinese tradition. So, who is the leader? So I'll just tell you the roles of the people here. So you have the guy who is number one, and this is the guy that beats the drums, right? The guy that beats the drum is the guy who controls the speed and the rhythm of the people doing the work. Right? So the people rowing the boat, these are people who are doing the work, the workers, right? So this guy looks at the workers and decides how fast, how slow the workers are going to do. They want to make sure that the right-hand side does not go faster than the left-hand side, because if you do that, the boat will go into circles, and vice versa. So this is what the drama is doing. He manages the team and regulates how the team works and how fast the team works. Then you have the lady behind. The lady is the oarsman, the person setting the direction of the boat. So how do you set the direction? Well, basically she has her eyes. Her eyes are on the objective. The eyes are on the final destination, where you want the boat to be. And then if the boat is veering towards the right, you will steer it to the left, and making sure that whatever you do, your boat will go into the right direction or the right destination, right? So these are the two key figures. Now, what I'm going to ask you is, let me see if I have a chat box. Oops, where's my chat box? Yes. Right, I just put a hi. So if everybody should see a hi that I put in a chat box, right? So who do you think is the leader in this boat situation? Is it the drummer? If you think it's the drummer, the person who beats the drum, key in 1 in the chat box. If you think it's the lady behind, the person that sets the direction, can you key in 2 in the chat box over here? So it's 1 or 2. So can you key in your okay, so someone say 1 plus 2. Who else? 2, 1. Well, we got more 2s than 1. So I'm gonna ask people, right? So if I call a name, you may want to unmute yourself. I'm going to ask Peter Bonshine. And Peter Bonshine, then you say 2, the lady behind. Why?
Well, I was thinking about it, but she's setting the direction. The other guy is, the speed and the coordination, but where the team is going is being set by her.
Right.
As in everything, it's a team effort. Not one person can do it alone. So
yes. Right. Thank you. So it's a direction that matters. Okay. Zeiss Arthur, you are saying that you are saying 2, and your workmate is saying 1. So can you unmute and tell us why the difference in opinions?
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
I think the number 2 is the leader, because she set the direction, and I think set up the direction is what a leader should do.
Okay.
And now I will invite my workmate.
Yes, I think for the first gentleman is pacemaker. So control all the team should go fast, personal go direction because he is the man, so he knows everything. So from my perspective, I think he's also take the lead for the second lady, the guiding one. So this is my opinion for who is the leader of this sport here.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Duncan. Right, so can we ask, is it Penny who said 1 + 2?
Yeah, from my side, I think the number one who is supervise the team and set a goals at where we want to go.
Okay.
But the lady number two is the person who just direct the team to push the team the real way where we go. So I guess.
Okay, so she's the real boss, right? She pushes the team. Number one is just a supervisor.
Right.
Number two is the CEO.
My opinion.
Okay, thank you. Right, so this is in a way it's a trick question, and if you really are into what is the model or right answer, it is 1 and 2, but for a different reason. Both 1 and 2 are leaders, but for a different reason, and it may relate to smart manufacturing in the future or the future of manufacturing, or if you have matrix organizations, this will be the case. Now, this is the picture shown to me during my Scrum Master certification. So Scrum Master, if you're not aware of the term, some of you may have heard about it. Scrum is a methodology for Agile, right? Agile is a way of project management where people can be more flexible to approach it, not because we like to be flexible, but because we don't know the future. We like to meet customers' needs, but their needs are always changing. And sometimes customers don't even know what they really want. And we need to do something, guide the customer along, and finally decide or finally get clarity that this is finally what the customers want. So it's a flexible way because of things like VUCA and uncertainty and whatever. So that's what we need to do. So in a factory, if this is going to be a factory, it's like the operations manager, the production manager. This is a guy that basically regulates how workers are supposed to behave, what is the production, what is the quota, what is the deadline, and so on. So that's one. And two, the horseman is basically, you can say, the big boss, maybe, but it can also be the service person, the salesperson, the market person, as into making sure whatever we produce meets our customers' needs, or having the eye of the customers, knowing what the customers want, and then tell number one, exactly what the customers want, right? So in a way, 1 and 2 has to work closely in order to lead the team or lead the factory. Now, why is this important for matrix? Well, this is what matrix wants. Matrix organizations, you have people in silos, meaning you have production department, you have procurement department, you have R&D, you got finance, you got sales. So those are vertical silos. And then a lot of matrix are organized around different types of customers. So you have automotive, you have healthcare, you have food and beverage, and so on. So different customer groups will have different needs, and people across different silos, across different departments will need to work together and meet the customer's needs. So you have 2 is what is the matrix BU head, right? These are the people who knows what the customers want, or who are in constant communication to persuade the customer, to understand customers' needs. That person will have to talk to whoever is in charge of all that vertical teams. This is what the customers want and how we can work together and give the customers what they want, and hopefully the customers pays us a lot, right? So this is how it needs to be. So that alone, which my personal gut feel, is likely to happen when we are going into more flexibility. If we chose flexibility in smart manufacturing. So, and this alone doing the dragon boat way of leading your teams is going to be a key issue in terms of getting people to change their ways. Because traditionally we only have one. We never had a two. Everybody just listened to one, and one may or may not be sitting in front of the team with the back facing to the market. One may be sitting behind. One is also looking at a direction, with also beating the drums, and everybody follows suit. Now, what we are going to face now is we now have someone who is closer to the customer, more intact with the customer, and that person will have to work with the traditional one over here. And between the managers, it's a change of work styles. Between the workers, they'll always ask, so who should I listen? Should I listen to one or should I listen to two? Right, so these are issues that need to be ironed out when we go into a more flexible way of organizing ourselves, be it smart manufacturing, matrix organizations, or simply agile projects. Some people, just to add one more thing about cultural issues, some people will say that, Asian cultures, Chinese cultures, it's all top down, right? You have one boss. One mountain cannot have two tigers, so to speak. You can only have one boss. Not really. Dragon Boat has been in existence in China for 2,000, maybe 3,000 years. So we have been able to work with two bosses. Even in the Communist Party, or People's Liberation Army, right? In the Communist Army, you have the military leader, and you also have the political commissar. You have your Zheng Wei, right? So it's still dual role, and then having that singular role to be a leader is Asian/Chinese culture is not an excuse. We have found ways in the past to work around it, and we will need to find ways to work around it to adjust ourselves to a new flexible reality. So what happens when you have when you are more flexible, more agile, so to speak? Some things need to happen. Individuals and shared purpose and vision. So you need to have individuals with shared purpose and vision. It's not just a class of individuals. People may be doing their little things, but people need to come together on a shared vision. If you want to be more flexible, and by more flexible, sometimes decisions need to be delegated, need to be empowered to others. How do you know that those delegated decisions, decentralized decisions, are made in the best interest of the company? You don't, unless everybody has got a same shared purpose and vision. Then we know that even if we make mistakes, they are mistakes that are made for the right reasons to achieve a shared common purpose. So that's what we want to do for when we start to have a decentralized decision making. There is network empowered teams. If you want to be more flexible, do you have one person that calls all the shots in the whole factory, in the whole plant? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you have different teams, different work teams that will be in charge of different aspects of your production. And teams, by the way, in manufacturing they're not invented by the Japanese, but they are being made to brilliance by the Japanese in terms of quality control teams, right? So it's a form of empowered teams. The only difference is in most quality control teams, the teams will, of different functions, sometimes different production lines, will come together, sit, discuss, how can we improve things, come up with a solution, and get approval. In future, if they are really more empowered, they may not even get approval. Up to a certain extent, they will find the solution, and then if it's within their scope of decision making, they may just go ahead and implement it, right? So to what extent of the empowerment, we don't know, and different factories, different companies will have different levels of empowerment. You will have faster decision and learning cycles. What's the point of producing faster achieving faster cycle times, achieving greater flexibility, making things more interchangeable at lower cost when you are not able to make quick decisions, right? It doesn't fit the purpose. So you probably will need to have people who are able to make quick decisions and reasonable, sensible decisions, and go ahead and do it. The people themselves, what do we mean by dynamic people model that ignites passion? Well, in a way, if you can see the thing below, this is by McKinsey's, and of course McKinsey's want to charge a lot of money. They need to use big words. What it actually means here is you need to have self-motivated people, right? Rather than the old days of, especially if you are thinking about Charles Dickens, right? Oliver Twist, the early days of Industrial Revolution. Where the factory boss rules with a whip, right? People are not motivated. They're only motivated by the whip of the boss, right? So you punish people and then they work. Not the case anymore. Well, not the case a long time ago, but further on, no longer the case. You need to have people that really love their work, really want to share purpose and vision, takes the initiative and has the passion and motivation to get things done and make things happen. And the technology, whether it's architecture, systems, tools, whatever it is, can be cutting edge technology, or it can be just different tools, right? May not even be the tech. Has to be evolving. Why? Because what is the best technology and tool today? Tomorrow you can have a better one. We are not saying that the better one will be a more suitable one, but there may be better solutions that will be evolving as time goes on. It's just like in the old days, in the 90s, when people start building websites. No, the companies say, well, we spend like $10,000 USD to build a nice website, and then full stop. They don't do anything to it. And 2 months later, it's outdated, right? So have in mind that there could be better ways of working. You may have the best way today, but 2 months later, 6 months later, there could be evolving ways. We're not saying you jump into the new ways immediately, but you may want to take gradual shifts, gradual changes to the future way, right? We'll link that to change management in a while. So some barriers to agility, and in a certain extent barriers to truly smart manufacturing, right? Smart not just in the machinery, the equipment, but smart also in the people. Are there outdated behaviors that you still want to have very much command and control leadership? Again, there's nothing wrong with command and control. It's just a matter of can you have command and control with also a certain leeway for some level of flexibility? What is the level of flexibility? Again, depends on the organization, the company, the culture, etc., the environment you are in, right? So that needs to be adjusted a little bit depending on the company. Do you have the mentality of that's not my job? If you're in a matrix organization, a lot of things relating to what you do tend to be your job. The good news is that even if it's your job, you need not do everything by yourself. It is your job, and it is also the job of your colleagues, of the team members, and there are ways, if there could be ways to work together as a team to solve those problems. You don't have to carry everything on your own. Right, in managing instead of coaching your people, again, there's nothing wrong with managing. We'll like to see more coaching. Just to, in 2 sentences, clarify what we mean by coaching. Coaching means getting people to think rather than telling people what to do. So coaching at times means, and not all the time, at sometimes, means asking your team, what do you think will be the best solution? What would you do, right? If you were in my shoes, what do you think you will do, right? So it's a matter of training the team at times to think about what could be the right solution, we may or may not go straight into a direct delegation, they think, and then they implement. We may have an interim part where we ask people what they think, how they would do, and give you a feedback. You still have the final approval, etc. But it's to start to get your people to think. Again, some companies are very afraid that their people, their workers are too smart. It's a matter of choice. If they share the same values as you, if they share the same purpose as you, if they are willing to work towards the same direction, and if they have the right skill sets, why not, right? So it's a matter of how you strike the balance. Could there be restrictive practices? Is for the sake of corporate governance, are you having too much restriction? Right? Are you having too much of a supplier rather than partner mentality with your partners? Do you discuss more things with your suppliers rather than to squeeze your suppliers for the lowest price? Would you want your suppliers, in other words, would you want your suppliers to be also more flexible and partner with you rather than squeezing them for the lowest price and then they try to cut corners with you anyhow? Right, so it's just a matter of how you want to work with different types of suppliers. And I'm sure that you don't put all suppliers as your partners. Some are your partners, some you don't have to, right? Sluggish systems, as in slow systems, is the infrastructure too slow? Is there an aversion to automation? Do you also have a slow response in your people or in your organization? Right, so this is something to think about. So there could be, if we are looking at changes, we are looking at both the personal aspect, so what do we need our leaders to change? And we're also looking at the organization aspects. As a company, do we need to change somehow, right? So from the company means company policies. Do we need to change that? Leadership means, do we need different leadership behaviors, skills for people who are managers and leaders? And the two parts, although they're different and we need to tackle them differently, somehow they need to be worked in tandem, right? So you need to look into what are the policies of the company, and then how do you upskill your leaders to get them to work differently. Now, we also have different types of clients that we work with, and they also got consulting reports from the HQ in Europe saying that, oh, they need to be more flexible, they need to be faster in their response times, and so on. And as part of what we do personality and all sorts of people assessments. And for this particular client that we have, we found that because of the work nature, they are cautious people, they are very analytical, they are very risk averse, right? They don't like creativity, not because it's bad, but because their job is about meeting deadlines, making sure that the quality is consistent, making sure that we meet targets every time, whether it be time targets, quality targets, or whatever targets. They want to have that level of consistency throughout the whole company. So that makes it a very cautious, analytical, and step-by-step implementing type of company culture. And the thing is, it has been working well for them. Now, their HQ is saying that, oh, we now need to be more flexible. Oh, we need to change. We need to change the way we work. We need to have a new business model, right? So these are some of the things that they are going to implement from HQ. And we did a briefing, and I told the boss in Europe and say that, well, it's good that you are looking to change. And I think the leaders that we have spoken to in China are also very much open to change. The question is, the team requires time to digest a lot of information, requires time to even do some testing, or not of the equipment, but of work procedures, testing new work procedures, requires time to implement changes bit by bit and see if it's safe to proceed to the next step. So while HQ would like to implement some sweeping changes in the next 2 to 3 years, be mindful that the team currently has been reinforced, has been in a habit of working in a careful, managed, procedural way. Can they change? Yes, but don't expect them to change overnight. If they want to change, they need to feel safe. They need to implement the change bit by bit. Every bit needs to have some level of success. If there are some level of failures or things didn't work out, they need to understand why, and they need to be given encouragement so that they know what to implement the next step. It goes slowly, right? So these are some factors that organizations need to think about if you want to implement changes as well. For people who tend to be control freaks, some managers tend to be that way. And again, I'm not, there's no disrespect. This is just sometimes our work styles, or it could be just because the work requires you to have full control. Sometimes it needs to be let go a bit. And this is from Sun Tzu, again, something from 3,000 years ago in ancient China. The ruler who does not interfere with capable general shall win the war. If your people know what they're doing, have got the same shared values and purpose objectives as you do, and are self-motivated to achieve it, then let them do it. Hold them accountable for results, for sure. If you need to have weekly meetings to make sure that things don't go out of hand, by all means, have the regular meetings to be sure of how things are going. But for the rest of the time, you can set the boundaries, and for the rest of the time, let them do their job, right? So it's again a shift in terms of mindset of the future way of working. And ultimately, it's about what gets measured, gets done. If your KPI is still based on your old ways of working, so if the old ways is just about improving your department's throughput or output, just in a certain time improve your department's whether it's productivity or volume of output in a certain time, rather than thinking about what the customers want and producing to customers' needs. So this is going to be a shift of thinking. If you are measuring people just based on output alone, rather than customer satisfaction, rather than meeting customers' needs, guess what? People are going to do things according to measurement. The KPI says, we are measured according to the old ways. You have the latest state-of-art machinery and equipment for smart manufacturing, but if the measurement is based on old ways of working, your smart manufacturing equipment and investments have all been wasted, right? So it's something to think about how you want to set your KPI. You may want to sit down with your HRs and department heads and if need be, get some external consultants to just have a brief discussion on how should you redesign KPIs, and just for external consultants. Some people will say, oh, does that mean we need to spend a lot of money to hire consultants? Well, the thing is, the good news is that because of COVID-19, a lot of external consultants are not getting a lot of jobs, which means a lot of consultants maybe, and I'm not just saying just about me, I'm just talking about the consultants market. A lot of consultants are willing to sit down with you just for discussion. They don't charge anything, you just buy them coffee and just for discussion. When you talk about KPIs, the consultants can chat with you and just share with you some ideas without charging you. If those ideas are good enough for you, you can just take it and implement for yourself. You only hire the consultant if you need the consultant to work out the nitty-gritties of the KPIs if you need to change them. So it depends on where you are, what you need, the level of skills in HR and so on, the level of support you get from HQ. Whatever it is, think about what gets measured, gets done, what are your KPIs up to speed, up to date with what you want to implement, right? How do we do KPIs? So Some things you can do internally. This is what we call a word picture, right? So what are specific behaviors can you observe? Would two strangers be able to see this thing and say they come to the same conclusion? So if you want to do it on your own, if you have your own management retreat or internal training, just get a flip chart paper, put it horizontally. Think of a work scenario. So if you want to implement smart manufacturing, and because of smart manufacturing or matrix organization, you need some of the people to work with other departments. So this is work scenario. When I'm working with other departments, what could be some bad behaviors? Get the people to brainstorm. What are some bad behaviors? And have a good laugh at that. Just make a list of all the behaviors that we should not adopt. And then think about what are the good behaviors. Get the people to brainstorm and go into what could be great behaviors. So this is a cheap, easy way, or free, easy way that you can do internally and get inputs from your own people about a certain work scenario that you foresee will happen if you were to implement smart manufacturing. So when people give their inputs, a few things happen. Number one, it's their idea. It's not your idea. The buy-in is going to be greater, because if the boss tells them, from now on, I want you to work with other departments. And when you work with other departments, I want you to do this and this. People don't like it. There's going to be pushback. Now you turn around and ask them to say that, okay, with this new smart manufacturing initiative, we probably will need to work with other departments. So if you want to work with other departments, what do you think will be what do you think will be the behaviors that are bad and we should not have? What do you think that will be good behaviors and best behaviors? Get the people to do it. It's their ideas. The buy-in are going to be a lot higher, right? So it's a good way of implementing change when people bought into your idea in the first place, right? Number two, you don't have to come up with all the solutions. Your people will have solutions. So they give you the solutions, they have the buy-in, and then they implement themselves. You just monitor, so it makes your life easier, right? So these are ways that you can do a workshop internally, not giving you this idea for free. Doesn't cost you a penny. So when I'm dealing with different opinions, so I have a way of doing things. So there are different opinions. In the past, everybody just listened to the boss. So if you have a different opinion, that's your problem. You listen to me. Right now, maybe different opinions can lead to better solutions. We don't know. So what could be bad behaviors that we should not have from now on? What could be good behaviors, both from employees and from bosses, from managers, from leaders? Bad, good, and great. So these are some things that we can do. A lot of things that we talk about change. Start with big ideas. Think with big ideas. Start nimble. You don't have to implement things one fell swoop at the same time. The old saying is, Rome is not built in one day, right? So that's the old saying. So start nimble, as in implement something, see if it works. If it doesn't work, discuss why it failed, why it didn't work, what can we do to do better, and then go ahead and try again, right? So these are things that we can start bit by bit. We don't need to do things all together at once. Now, people are asking, if we already invest in $100,000 machinery, 100,000 euros machinery, and then it didn't work, how can we be nimble, right? Then we take one step backwards. Before we even make the investment for whatever kinds of machinery, maybe we should just think about what is the work processes. Maybe we can also consult with Tobias or Gami and think about what is good value stream mapping and map up your value stream before you even go and invest in the high cost machineries. So if you want to prioritize, think about things like what are some of the things that you want to do if you want to go into smart manufacturing. What will be some things that is for you must have, as in what is must have? Some things, if you don't have, it will fail. So just to give an illustration, right? If you're driving a car, what is the minimum number of wheels for a car? If you're driving a car, just any car, minimum number of wheels for a car. A lot of people say 4 wheels, right? No, physically, you just need 3 wheels. Cars can be driven with only 3 wheels. Okay, it may not be very stable. You won't be able to go to 100 kilometers an hour on 3 wheels, and probably don't want to do that. But cars can be driven with 3 wheels. 2 wheels, it will fail. 3 wheels is the bare minimum. So must have for a car is 3 wheels. Should have for a car is 4 wheels. It means that the car will be performing at a good rate, at a good performance level, right? If you take away 1 wheel for the car, it can still go, but its performance will be severely limited and discounted, right? So that's what we mean by should have. Should have is things that you really wanted, but if it's really lack of budget, lack of resources, lack of manpower, lack of whatever, if you really want to sacrifice, it will still work, but bear in mind, it will not be as the expected capacity or performance. Like could have will be things that will make it better. Can be the spare tire, can be the sports rim, can be fanciful colors, some things that will make things even better, but not really necessary. And won't have is are things that probably those are fads. Those are things that make you look good, but it doesn't really help you in any way. So, or at this juncture, given our timeline, given our limited resources, we are not going to have them now, but maybe in the future. So these are some ways to prioritize. If you are going to smart manufacturing, which aspects? If you are going to realign your work procedures, which parts first? This could be some ways to start off first, and you may want to start with some aspects that are less riskier, and have an idea before you go into a company-wide implementation. Right, with that, just to summary, this is the way to change. Have a burning reason why change. Think about where, and then figure out the how. Now, traditional change is the moment you get to your end point, you burn your bridges. You don't let people go back to where they are. But sometimes, sometimes things are so flexible that there is always no end point. This end point is only an interim endpoint. There'll be a future endpoint. So changes are always evolving. There's always a future, the next destination, right? Unfortunately, that's a future that we probably are facing at the moment. So again, another quote from Sun Tzu Art of War. If you are able to march 1,000 miles and not feel tired, you are undefeatable. What do you mean by that? It's tough work. It's constant changes. What you think is the final destination, the end point of the change, is only interim. There'll be future changes, right? It's going to be on consistently marching, if you will. But if it's tiring for you, it's tiring for everybody. If you are able to persevere through, and then when your competitors have given up, that means you win, right? So that's what it means by if you're able to march 1,000 miles and not feel tired. It's the same thing. Everybody's going to go through this uncertainty, consistent changes, coping with new technology, new ways of working. It's about how we are able to be better our game, to lift our game and be better at it, right? So that concludes it. And if you want to, this is our QR code. We share PPTs, videos, and whatnot in the WeChat. So if you want to, feel free to scan. And I'll hand over the time back to Tobias.
Yes, thank you, CJ, for the speech. So I think we still have some time left. If there's some questions, and we are happy to answer. So I suggest just either open the microphone or type in the chat if there's some questions. Of course, we will share the presentation afterwards, at least from my side. And yeah, and you can always contact us if there are interests in these topics. Any questions?
Or even comments if you disagree with whatever we have shared, or you have a better idea. Okay, now this is what we do from. Oh, sorry, something.
Yeah, Tobias, this is Peter Tang from WIK.
Hello, Peter.
Yes, how are you? I saw from your presentation something to say that MES is a temporary, that's going to be moved to the next level, right? Something
Yes.
like, can you elaborate a little bit in this area?
Well, I was just saying, for sure, MES systems are the key at the moment. Yeah, I mean, we need a bridge somehow between our SCADA or PLC systems and our ERP system. So this was more like, let's say 5, 10, maybe 15 years projection. I was mentioning that we have to make sure that the functionalities are given, and that the, let's say, the boundaries between all these systems are more and more fluent in the future. So maybe we have some more operative ERP modules, so to say, coming down to the shop floor, or I can, let's say, use more edge devices on the shop floor, directly reporting to some ERP system. I think all these borders in the future will be more and more dissolving. So that's why I'm saying we won't have maybe in a couple of years all these different systems. We just have one, let's say, cloud-based entity where all this data is put, and we just have to define the functionalities we want to achieve, and everyone along the value chain has access to an integrated pool of data, which makes it then in the end unnecessary for having different individual systems in our company. But at the moment, for sure, they are critical and necessary to organize our shop floor. But as an outlook for the next years, maybe all these systems will be somehow dissolving. This is my idea.
Thanks.
Yeah, to what Tobias mentioned, like what I've all shared, whatever technology we see today, even if there are state-of-the-art today, it is still evolving. There will be newer, better technologies. We may have experiences in consumable electronics, iPhones, for example, and we have seen less of that in manufacturing. But given the rate of technological advances today, it's just foreseeable that even for manufacturing technologies to be evolving at a quicker pace than it used to be. Does that mean that we definitely will need to get upgrades every other year like we do for our handphones and computers? May or may not be. You may be happy with the technology that you have used 5 years ago and it's still working fine, and that's great. It's just a matter of that you need to be aware that evolving technologies are always on the horizon, and whatever you have today, there will be an expiry date for that sooner than what was happening before.